I know one thing that we have not talked about, which kind of started this whole CrossFit, thing off. And I'm not going to say that's why I didn't end up watching, but it definitely didn't feel like something I wanted to watch. But now that maybe I'll go back and watch some of it now. But you were watching all along, and what I'm talking about is the tragedy that happened on day one of the events with the guy Lazar dying in the swim in a lake in Texas. Like it's crazy. It's crazy, and it's so sad, and so obviously there's mystery about it. We don't know the actual whys or that sort of thing. And I know a lot of the community kind of bit their lip, but now they're all sort of speaking out about wanting accountability and justice and things like this. And we don't even have all the facts. And to be honest, I'm not even sure. I'm not even sure what that's going to look like going forward. But it was a travesty, that's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, it was quite the roller coaster, just following it all and watching it all. It was emotional and yeah, it just didn't, yeah, there's just something about the whole thing. It just didn't feel right, you know. There's no, there's like no justice kind of a thing. Everyone kind of had to carry on. And I don't know. I have a lot of mixed feelings about it. I've heard, you know, all sides of it now. I don't really even know where I lie. All I know is uh at least the way I responded to it with the narrative, or I don't want to say narrative. I think the general consensus is that, you know, everyone responds to grief in different ways.
Yeah.
But the way I responded to it, I was immediately mad at Dave Castro
Mm.
because I woke up that morning and I woke up and, you know, was I set an alarm because I was gonna watch the games, you know. So, and I knew that the first event was on at, you know, 7 a.m. And so, you know, I got up and, you know, I was looking at my phone to get some updates, and it was like Dave Castro, pictures of Dave Castro with the demo team, you know, and I was like, oh, with the demo team, okay. They're like doing last minute demo things, you know, like last minute testing. And I was like looking at the girls. I was like, what are these girls? And it's just like these three super pretty blonde girls that didn't make it to the games. I'm like, this guy's. It's like this seems suspicious. And I remember hearing stuff about Dave being a little I don't know. He likes to hit on the girls, you know.
Mm.
I was like, this guy. And then, you know, I had that thought, and then straight into, you know, like the live stream was cut off, and you know, like I couldn't
Mm.
get on the, you know, I couldn't find it on YouTube. Um and so yeah, and then immediately I felt like, you know, pissed at Dave. I was like, how could he let this happen?
Yeah.
So I had that like wanting to blame somebody response to it.
Yeah.
You know, that's from my perspective. Um, but now I don't know. Like I've heard a lot, you know, different sides to
Yeah.
different ways to look at it. A lot of people, you know, the triathlon athletes kind of got in my head a little bit. They're like, you never, that's why you never you always swim first and then run, you know, and I'm like, yeah, that makes so much sense, you know.
Hmm.
And I was like, but like we've been doing run swim runs forever, you know, like run swim runs are like
Yeah.
as old as time, you know. I don't know.
Well, yeah, and mostly a lot of the times they were done in the ocean, which is
Yeah, right?
way scarier and more
Way
dangerous than a
treacherous.
lake. Like
Yeah.
that's what was so confusing to me.
Yeah.
It was like such a controlled kind of environment.
Yeah, it was like glossy, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
and then what was I saying? Yeah, run some runs. I was following like the triathlon. Like I was
Hmm.
getting on that bandwagon. Like, yeah, they shouldn't have, they should have swam first. Of
Yeah.
course, that's dangerous. And I was like, no, it's not. Used to do run some runs as a kid, like junior
Lifeguard training.
lifeguards. Yeah,
Yeah.
junior lifeguards. I did run some runs when I was, like 8 years old in the ocean, like, yeah, there were people on paddle boards, but, we still did it
Yeah.
in that order: run, swim, run. And then there was times where we did this thing called the mega. It was a run, swim, run, swim, run, swim, run, swim, run, or something like that. It was like this crazy like
Wow.
event, like Capitola Junior Guards.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know? Like it was
Wow.
awesome. Like I really, after reflecting, I really attribute like my enjoyment for CrossFit is related to that. But anyways, so yes, and then I threw away that idea that they should have, you know, everyone should swim first. So I was like, well, that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. But you look at the videos, there's not a lot of safety, like in the water. There's like only a couple people on paddle boards. And
And like 30 athletes at once, right? So like how
yeah,
are these three people going to keep track of 30 people?
yeah, and then you could also get mad at like, oh, they're pushing athletes to their absolute breaking point. And I'm like, yeah, like I can see that too. I can see that argument, but it was the first event,
Hmm.
and it
Hmm.
wasn't like, um, I don't know. It wasn't like, the last event on the last day after they had done all this stuff, and then they had to do that, and then somebody died.
Right.
So then I'm like, okay, well that, like they definitely do push people to the breaking points, but that's like every CrossFit workout.
Right.
It's like
I
the
mean,
entire
think about the
methodology.
guy, with the weightlifting. It's like, it was too heavy. Like
Yeah,
shit happens. You're not
find your
competing
limits.
in like high school sports, and people are paid a lot of money when they win. That's why everyone does it, right? Like they're not doing it for free. This is their career and their profession.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you don't get to the games unless you're an elite athlete.
Oh yeah. The best. The best of the
Yeah.
best. So
Mhm.
the lack of safety, I was like, man, yeah, that's like there was somebody on the paddleboard. There was somebody that jumped in the water that tried to save him. It didn't look good. It looked like, so it looked preventable, which makes people angry, right? It's like
I
that could have
see.
been prevented, that makes everyone angry, which also like immediately it was like very clear that it was preventable because there was, Tia crossing the finish line and you can see behind her the guy's like flailing,
Oh,
dying. Like in that moment, he's dying as soon as Tia crosses the finish line. Like that's how close he was to
wow.
the finish line. And yeah, so like I don't know, like there's so many different things to think about. And then I also think about Ricky Garard, the 1,000 box 1,000 box step ups, the Chad workout, which they did like which is a great message. Unfortunately, the message didn't deliver because everyone was focused on um, Lazar's death, and Ricky rolled his ankle doing those step ups, and it's like, yeah, like that is an example of like maybe that was like not a good idea, like. And that was after a good amount of tests, it was like
Hmm. Hmm.
somebody rolled their ankle. So there's like a little makes me think, yeah, like athlete safety, like that definitely makes me think there's some things that could have been programmed better. But yeah, I've had a lot of thoughts about it. I could probably keep going on it, but I've been
Yeah.
I've been thinking about it, I've been listening to everyone, and I heard Greg Glassman and Savan talk about it this morning, and they definitely had a different opinion on it. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I feel, yeah, I feel like, yeah, pushing the limits is like what CrossFit's all about. But like that sort of
Yeah.
thing didn't happen either, you know?
Well, and it'll be interesting to see what the fallout from this is because, already, and it's pretty much the same people as last time, people are talking about de-affiliating and all these things. And it's like, it's like the whole throw out the baby with the bathwater. Like, I love this methodology. I love this, but I didn't like how that went. So now I don't want to be a part of it. It just goes to show you, I think for myself, where loyalties lie, not saying I should stay loyal to a company that abuses athletes and they die, but at the same time I think we all know when you're in a sport or you're competing, it's almost like at your own risk. I mean, obviously we'll do everything to keep it safe, but when you're putting heavy weight over your head, when you're swimming, in a very competitive, all these things, there's inherent risks that I think we all know and understand going into it. And it wasn't like 5 people all died, which would show like extreme negligence. It was one guy. I'm not saying that one guy's like irrelevant. It's very relevant. We've never seen anything like this, but it is interesting to see how people react and in what way when there's something tragic like this happens, as opposed to just holding space and being thoughtful and banding as a community. It almost becomes like this division of opinion and who's right and who's wrong, and got to blame somebody, and it's just unfortunate because I think it brings out a very not great side, and I hate seeing that happen to our community for sure.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's just going through what happened in 2020 again. Feels
Right.
just like the same thing, and it's such a small community, and a lot of the athletes are basically like influencers, so
Right.
like that's what they do. They, have an opinion about things and they speak about it, post about it.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just such a tight community to where it's, yeah, that when there's some sort of big thing that happens, it really, you know, shakes things up. And yeah, there's so many opinions, so many people are just mad, just
Yeah.
dealing. It sounds like it's just like, yeah, just people just dealing with anger.
Stages of grief, like,
They just,
yeah, isn't the first stage like anger? So like we're just witnessing that everybody sort of shelved it to get through the games. I liked how they gave people the option to like drop out if it's too much, or you could even like miss day one and still be part of it or something like that. I saw something to that effect.
yeah, that was, yeah, that's what they did.
Yeah, I
They,
mean, I think about
you could,
myself if I was in that opinion, making those in that position and making those decisions. Like, I have no idea what I would do on such a grand scale and you have to make this decision like right away. You don't have all the facts, you don't understand, but there's this giant thing, and to be in charge of making those decisions. Ooh, I don't envy that person.
yeah, it was a really rough situation for
Yeah,
CrossFit. And I don't think they, just because of the legalities involved, I don't think they could do what they probably felt like they wanted to do, which is like openly say, we're really sorry. We know we made a mistake. We should have had more people out there in the water. We should have made this safer, and we fucked up, but I don't think they can say that. I don't think they can say that. I do think that I'm sure the people that were in charge, like Dave. Dave did say sorry in one of he does a bunch of little short YouTube videos, but he didn't go into depth. He just said sorry. So was happy to hear him say that, honestly,
yeah,
you know, but it's just, yeah, it just starts getting complicated, with, yeah, just the legalities involved, it's just like everything's has, with the laws and governing bodies and the future of this and that. It's just things, unfortunately,
yeah.
uh,
And I would assume that all the athletes had to sign some sort of waiver, some sort of liability waiver. Like, I understand that, what I'm doing has inherent risk, and, I would hold CrossFit blameless if anything were to occur. I would have to assume that they have something like that in place. for that. But again, PR wise, I don't know if that necessarily makes everybody feel better. Like, they want some pound of flesh. They want to know there's going to be some change. There's going to be some accountability. But it's like, what does that mean? And what does that equal if people are participating in something they know has inherent risks and they're saying, I'm okay with that? Yeah, but we will see. I mean, definitely, like you said, not having enough people in the water, enough spotters, enough ability to get there if something happened. There could be some level of negligence there that could have been preventable. Like you said, that makes it real hard when you hear preventable. But also running the business we do, we understand that there's a lot going on all the time, and we take as many precautions that we possibly could at all points in time, but you literally can't be everywhere at all times to prevent everything. It's just impossible.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a tragic event. It's, yeah, it's crazy. Really, I really still feel it too, I like
You
feel
do, yeah.
yeah, it's just because like the games is just so exciting, like I mean, as a fan of, CrossFit, like I look forward to it. And it was
Yeah.
like, gosh, this just feels awful.
Yeah.
And, part of me wanted them to continue as well.
Yeah.
But, like after like seeing the tone of the athletes and the fans and just everyone involved, just the tone of it was like, oh man, maybe we should stop. You know,
Is,
like
is
after
that the
seeing him try
is
to
that
get
the
in.
general feel? Yeah.
Well, that was yeah, as like a spectator, like I was like after like uh yeah, after like the first day after they resumed, I was like, maybe they should call it. Just felt weird, you know. But I also am understanding, like geez, like could you imagine? Would it, I mean, if they did cancel it, I
Right.
don't
You
know.
got people traveling from all over the world.
Yeah, I
This is
don't
their
know. Yeah.
profession, their career, their life, like their livelihood. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you do with that?
Right.
Does everyone just understand that and just like, eat
Yeah.
their money? Like I know, like I wanted to go. I'm sure glad I didn't. I didn't. I
Mm,
wanted to go to the games, you know.
same. Because it
I
was right
wanted
there
to
in
go
Fort
watch it.
Worth. Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to go.
Yeah.
Decided that it was too expensive, and I didn't go. It was gonna just cost too much. And yeah, I mean, so I just think about like the people that did pay to go, and how many other people were in the same shoes as me.
Right.
But then the weekend continued and it was just like felt weird too. It's like, what's
I bet.
worse?
I
Like
bet.
being like, yep, it's canceled, or having the event just carry on and have it feel the way it felt, and uh,
But at the same time, don't you feel like it was almost for the people that were there a comfort in with each other? Like you're with the people you love, doing the things you love. Like there was some comfort in having that community during that phase or that process, like having almost each other to lean on.
yeah, I think I think that aspect of it was good, and that was a lot of what the athletes and the announcers and were trying to remind us all, like not to isolate, like to
Mhm.
lean on each other, lean on the community. And I remember one guy was saying, yeah, let's just CrossFit the hell out of this thing, meaning like let's just use the spirit of our love for, the games and the sport and pushing each other to like shine through this. I don't think it did.
No?
Not for me. No, I mean the watching the men's final, I was like happy to uh see like a new fittest get crowned, and uh, you know and it was, but it's still, it was just got had a weird vibe.
Well, you did better than me. I couldn't watch it. I didn't even turn on one bit of it.
Yeah,
I
you know
avoided
exactly
it.
what I'm saying. Yeah, it was just like it just
Yeah.
felt weird to watch it. You couldn't even
Yeah.
bring yourself to watch it.
I couldn't even bring myself, not even one event. Like I asked you, who won? I mean, I knew Tia won because I saw her social, but besides that, I had no idea. Um,
Yeah,
I just,
the look on Tia's face, like you know, like we pick up so much from people's expressions on their face and just
yeah,
and a lot everyone was picking up on everyone's kind of overall feel, which you can just see it on Tia's like she was proud of herself, she was excited, she was, happy to win again after having her baby and, trying to point the camera towards, her daughter, which was good, but you could tell like something still like she couldn't celebrate to her fullest, like there was like everyone was kind of holding back, like really celebrating because
felt
there's
wrong.
yeah, it felt wrong. There's that terrible tragic death looming over everyone's heads.
Yeah. Well, and it could be too, like for her, winning was actually easier just because she could go on automatic. She, she's done it so many times, she just hits that automatic button. Whereas you have new people coming up the line who haven't won. It was probably, I would imagine, much more difficult because there was no automatic switch to just flip on and get through it. Like trying to separate their head from what was happening and staying in the game mentally and physically. I can only imagine how challenging that was.
I think a lot of us, like part of me was thinking like, all right, they're going to continue. Everyone's going to do a tough workout and they're going to shake this, like shake, kind of like when you have a bad day and you go do a
Hmm.
workout and you shake that feeling.
Yeah.
But this shit wasn't shakeable, like no one could shake it. I couldn't shake it. I, was thinking I would do a tough workout and shake it. I didn't even know him, you know, it
Yeah.
just bothered me, you know,
Yeah. Well, and
bothered me.
it sucks because his brother was there competing as well. Like, holy shit. Like, what are the odds on that, first of all?
He
And
went through.
yeah,
He went through.
right.
I thought he was going to continue. I thought he was going to continue, and I was really happy that I heard they had a private meeting, and I heard that he was, encouraging everyone to continue, encouraging them to go on.
In his name and
I
honor him. Yeah.
was like, right on. Like, that's the green light then.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the green light then. Like, if his brother says let's go, like, let's go then.
Yeah.
But then he didn't compete, and so it was like, oh, what now? What's going on?
Right.
And I heard people say, well, how could he compete if he's going to sue CrossFit? And, the lawyer's like, then if it was so dangerous, why did you continue, sir? You know,
Damn. Oh, you hate to think of it that way, but
I
yeah,
can't
you
give
probably know that's coming. Yep.
that Savan right there. That's what he said.
Yeah. Yep.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, you know,
Heavy, heavy,
super heavy.
super heavy. So here we are,
You
two,
start thinking
two.
about the money and the suing, and yeah, like, and just like I said, like CrossFit couldn't just take the ownership that they probably wanted to take because of all the strings attached, all the sponsors, everything, because it looks
Yep.
bad on everyone's name who's got a little space in that arena or in that, it's just, they sponsored this event, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
How could you sponsor something where it's not safe, so it just is like this terrible domino effect because of the legalities, I think. You
Yeah.
know, I,
It'll
part
be
of me was hoping
interesting to
like
see how it shakes out.
let's just have like an outside body just shut this thing down. I was thinking like maybe like Texas would be like, nope, yeah, you guys are done.
Yeah.
Like that's I honestly was kind of hoping for something like that
Yeah.
because that would be like fine. Like okay, that would explain it all, but no one shut it down.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was
Wow.
CrossFit's way out at least. Like
Would have been. Yeah. Yeah. It'll be
now you need
interesting
to
to
make a
see
decision.
the road going forward and what that looks like.
Yeah, so lots of thoughts.
Yeah.
So sad, so
Yeah.
sad. I don't know what to think. Yeah, we don't know what the autopsy said, but I think he was a real competitor and he freaking pushed himself to death, Like, and like that's how much he cared about winning. That's how bad he wanted it. I mean, what a badass, It's so
Yeah.
sad though. But
Yep.
like, I mean, he passed 4 people in the water.
Yeah.
This guy was a beast.
Yeah. And he
This
died
guy,
doing what he loved.
yeah, he did. Yeah, super heavy.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I guess continue to keep watch and vigilance and see how this plays out. It's yeah, interesting. You know, we have such a polar opposite feelings of like the winning and then just like the tragedies in both the Olympics and this. There was like such highs but such lows, almost like the most extreme in both. And how do you contend with that as a person with your emotions feeling like on both sides of the spectrum? You know, it's hard to be super happy when you're seeing this terrible thing, but it's also hard to not feel happy for the good things
Yeah.
when, you know, there's so much built up for that. And so yeah, it'll be an interesting few weeks to see how this shakes out and how we all sort of process everything that's going on. You know, I would definitely recommend anybody who is struggling with this to get help to and talk with somebody, work through this, process it. It's pretty heavy. It's something like I know we haven't dealt with on this sort of stage. I mean, obviously with drug rehab, we deal with death in different avenues and manners, and we've seen a lot of things, but again, I would just encourage anybody who is struggling to reach out for help. There is help. There are people. There are ears, arms to hug you. There's people there. Don't just sit with it internally and get the help you need to get yourself through this.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Well, good talking to you. It's always
Yeah,
helpful to talk about it.
it is. It is. Yeah. Thanks for coming on the show, Tom.